Greetings, Minecrafters. That might have been another Nat's little protein, sorry. Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion today in this gorgeous, this little G is gorgeous day. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am elated to have a talk with you today about figuring out your kryptonite. You know, some people will call that an Achilles. I'm a huge Superman fan, so kryptonite, because we've all got it. Anybody walks around acting like they don't have it, they have it. They even have a stronger dose than you do, because shame has all kinds of hiding places. And anyway, we'll get into that. That's like a whole nother episode. But your kryptonite, your biggest fear, and it's wild because this sort of gels. The synchronicity is incredible, because I was talking about the healing process just yesterday, and I didn't plan for this to kind of tag along on that, but it really is true, because here I am, a fabulous 57, and most of my 57 years, I feel, what do I want to say? I feel really good in my skin. Like, I feel like I've never felt better in my skin. Oh, there's little G. He feels good in his skin, too. There he is in the brook. I feel tremendous in my skin, actually. And yet, the healing thing, I feel very, very healed. Yet, am I done? No, we talked about it. It's not like getting off at the right bus stop, like, oh, I'm here. You know, it's not a destination. It's a process. So even though I feel very, very healed, I feel excellent in my skin. Yes, I can set boundaries. Yes, I can say no, not feel guilty about any of it. That's all good. And yet, I had something happen. It was a while ago at this point, but still in my 50s, right? And I had thought, like, I was really aware of my kryptonite, that I thought it was not, I don't say just abandonment issues, because that's huge, right? Because there are lots of ways to abandon a child. A parent can die, and that's not their fault, obviously, and they can leave. They can be in the house still and be actively alcoholic or on some other drug. They can not be on anything and be, no offense to Wall Street. I'm from New York, it's my favorite city. But somebody can be, I'm just picking because that's such an easy visual, working, 1,000 hours a week, and maybe they're not using any substances, but they're missing every little league game, or most of them, the violin, concerts, the, whatever, dance recitals, and they're not present. They can be working in the home, and we call that proximal abandonment. And my usual example, again, just because it's an easy visual, I'm not saying all accountants are abandoning their children or anything, but especially during the Rona, and especially during the Ronavirus, when many of us were working at home, it could get all too easy to close the door on a room, even if you're not fortunate enough to have an actual office in your house, to close the door on your makeshift office, and tell the 5-year-old, I'll be in a minute, honey, I'll be in a minute, and, put in a DVD, put in another one, or hand them a tablet, or, whatever. And, I think of a tax accountant during tax season who's normally very present for their child, but that April or end of March, and maybe halfway through April is really tough. Honey, I'll be right there. Honey, and then before you know it, it's 9 o'clock at night or whatever. So there's all kinds of ways to abandon. And I kind of knew that the abandonment thing was my kryptonite, because, as you know from my backstory, I had two parents who were around, but there just wasn't an ounce of love in my house, at least not that I felt, not like at all. I was doing the backstroke and shame and blah, 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 blah. And again, that's not to be said with blame, and I want to be very careful about that, because at this point for me, it's like a skeleton without the meat. I'm sharing it with all of you so that hopefully you'll get something from it, because my whole mission is to spread positivity and help people to see their value. And I basically want the world to be a better place because I'm in it. That's really it. If it's one person hears it and they feel lighter, job's done here. You know what I mean? Okay, so the abandonment thing, I thought that was my kryptonite. And it's wild, because I had something happen here when I feel, for the most part, very healed, very good. It was a professional. It was still a little while ago, but it was in my 50s. And it was a person who I really liked, a colleague of mine. He'd been good to me for the most part. And he, we're all a mixed bag. And I was starting to do some stuff, and I had a little bit of recognition for some stuff, and who knows what was going on in his head. But he said something to me, and it wasn't kind, and it was out of character, because this person is a good person. And it really triggered me, and I didn't realize that it triggered me till later. I'm also not much of a crier, and I went home, and I filled up with tears. I'm like, where is this coming from? What he said, I could just dismiss it. It was also just like, I don't know, almost like very middle school or high school in a way to just put you in your place kind of thing. Didn't make any sense because, again, this person is good. We're all a mixed bag. And so who knows what was going on in his life or whatever. But but it really struck like a raw nerve in me that I didn't share overtly. I came home and I took a lot of walks in the woods. I mean, I'm talking about a few weeks. I get over stuff this fast usually. Regular snark, I just dismiss it, not attached to your outcome, whatever. And as they say, Wayne Dyer says it, a lot of people say it, and definitely Oprah says it. It was another quiz for me. It's like the last one. It was kind of like the final exam, I think. I hope. With my kryptonite situation, because as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and that is exactly what happened with me, because I was unguarded, because I know and like this person, and again, I'm still not judging them at this minute. It was a long, long time ago. But now I'm so great. I'm not grateful for that because it was very painful, very hurtful. I'm grateful that it catapulted me into a better place, even though I had to go through the mud first, because that's how it works. And here's the thing, I figured out my real kryptonite, because here I thought it was abandonment, which is part of it. Close cousin, rejection. And so it took weeks in the woods, that particular, I forget if it was fall or winter, doesn't make a difference. I love all the seasons anyway. Lots of walk with G, like, why is this really wreaking havoc? Here's the thing. It touched into a raw, deep nerve. It triggered me because the rejection part was, we don't want you. No matter, this is what I'm not saying what they said. They said something different. But the message was that, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. And no matter, this is what on my end, how I felt, is no matter how much you do, it is never going to be enough. You're not going to belong to us. We don't want you, or we kind of sort of want you as long as you stay contained over here. It was just, and it triggered me 9 ways to Sunday, when here I was thinking, so healthy in my skin, so good in my skin, and I am. And this was such a quiz, like kind of like the last one, like just when you thought you had it, you just had this much farther to go. And for this, I'm so grateful to him. I am very grateful to him, because I really searched it. I searched it and searched it, because the only thing to be, well, Roosevelt said it, right? The only thing to be afraid of, the only thing to fear is fear itself. And it's that excruciating feeling. And it took me right back with little Giovanni in the woods to that whole thing with, my mother, the wild trip to the Bronx there. For the most part, I thought I was over that, and I am over that. It's just the reminder of it that, we don't want you triggered me from I don't want you. That whole thing, the manic trip to the Bronx, when she, told me that I should have been an abortion, da 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 da. And I've since healed. I've forgiven them all and everything like that. It's just amazing how you're 98% there, and you just need 2% more. And I'm so grateful. That what happened with that particular person, even though it was hurtful, because now I feel like there is no stopping me. I am so grateful that when I was ready, a teacher showed up and gave me that last quiz, because that, my entire adult life, has been my kryptonite. And it's not a rejection like for jobs, like, if I applied to, let's say you throw stuff at the wall, right? 20 jobs, and like you get 5 callbacks. That wasn't it. It wasn't it with sports teams. It was it only like with a social group. And I'm super social, so I haven't really had a lot of rejection that way, honestly. It was just the fear that it could happen. And not even with individuals necessarily. It was like a group thing. It was wild. And again, I have a ton of friends. It's just weird. You can be afraid of stuff that hasn't really even happened to you very much. But this happened in that minute. At least I felt as if this happened in that minute. And wow. So I realized it just took me to such a deeper level, that to figure out what your fear is. And I feel like I want to, even though this is coming from me, straight from the hip, I feel like I want to shout out to Jay Shetty, just because I've also been reading him so much. And he does something in his, where he talks about digging deeply with your fear. And wow, once you do that, as scary as it is, once you figure out what's really going on, there is such freedom. There's such freedom, because once you figure out your kryptonite, figure out really what your kryptonite is, it has no more power. It has no more power. And you're just more aware of it. You can see it. When you see it, you can yield to it. and you can talk to it right in the face, which I've done a lot in here since then. I don't give a fat rat's ass. I don't need to belong to you. I don't need to belong to your group. And again, well, actually, I'm using the word differently. I've talked with Brene Brown. Belonging, do I belong to me? Absolutely. That's why I don't need to fit in. I use the words wrong. I don't need to fit in with you or anybody else ever, ever, ever. Why? Because I belong to myself. I don't need your approval. I got back in my frame. I was temporarily pulled out of my frame by the kind of unkind words. Got back in my frame. Also looked at the person who is a good person, who fell off the wagon with that briefly, with compassion, because who knows what was going on in his life, blah, 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 blah. And I'm in such a good place, and I feel even stronger than before. It's kind of like in the Wizard of Oz with the Good Witch of the North, saying, you have no power here. Once you know your kryptonite, man, you take your power back. You're in your frame. You need to say to that person, even if it's in your head, you have no power here, which means you have no power in my frame. So get out. That's it. You have no power here. Know your kryptonite. Reclaim you and your power. Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.